Good morning, Micah. Hi. Yes, the check-in. I actually have StreamerBot open this time. Frick, I didn't check in last stream. I know. It's okay. It's okay. It's okay. It's okay. How was your night? How was the rest of your shift last night? Are you off of work today? Or do you have off Sundays? I forget which day on the weekend you have off. We're just gonna jump right in. Well, don't go back to the night period. Okay, so does that mean you're trying to run around with me? I'm gonna hop in the shower. Okay, maybe after your shower. Yes, there's always room for you, friend. Yes, there's room for you. We can absolutely, like, you just jump in here. We'll face Vecna together. Well, hopefully we get some Vecnas. I was not getting any Vecnas yesterday. We're just jumping right in. Oh, actually, let me do that. Alright, see you in a bit, Micah. Just hop in the voice chat when you're all settled in. And clean! We're having brunch though. I'm having like a breakfast sandwich and some coffee. Yesterday I was playing like shit, so hopefully today will be better. Mm, 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 mm. Hey. Wait, Nancy, come back. Hey, Kate. Hey, Nancy. Stealth killer? Oh, it's an Oni. I like this perk. This distant perk. Let's go. GG. I'm gonna put this right here. And we're off. One gen done. Nancy's heading again that gen done. I'm just gonna work on these gens because they're chasing up there. I can fit there. Yes, Kate, come here. Hi, hi. Alright, Lauren, we got this. I feel like I always call my randos by their names. Where's Nancy? Where's Leon? That's really the question. We are pounding these gens out. I'm gonna go right back to Nancy's gen. Okay, Leon is down. I'm afraid. Onis are scary because he literally could just run up on me. Fuck no! Oh, I don't have to go. It's fine. Dead man switch. Oh. Well, we can double heal. Oh, Leon, come here. Come here. Quick. He left me. Why did he leave me? I'm just going for the save. Nancy, we have to go. Ronnie! Yes, please! Let me be your entertainment. Fuck. I don't like this. Life, please, life. I need the life. Oh, he's just gonna tunnel her out. Hi, Ronnie. Make sure you check in, Fran. Wait. Lauren, come back. Lauren, my friend, come. Girl. Yes! Oof. You're low. It might be me, though. Let's see. Is my mic low? It doesn't say my mic's low. Maybe now it's not. Sorry, go. No! I thought I could make that save. Oh, he doesn't break. Yeah, pick me up. Pick me up. Leave Kate alone. Kate, please. Kate! No! She was so close to save. To heal. Just shouting out whilst in the shower. Clocked in. It's honestly probably me. Oh, really? That's odd. Ronnie, how are you? How was your night? Why did Nancy leave? Nancy, we haven't even played yet. We just got all hooked. I told you, okay, Ronnie, I've known Micah since I started streaming, and ever since then, I told him, like, he's a professional mod. Why are you here? Sucking my bubbles? Get yo! Leon, really, bro. Why is Nancy all the way over there? What's happening today? What do you have planned? I am doing good. Thank you, Kate. No, I'm gonna go this way. Where did the Nancy go? Now we have to play with a bot. I'm doing really well. I'm having brunch. I'm having a coffee and a croissant sandwich. I got her up. Fuck! He has his power. Oh, he left me alone. I'm sorry, Lauren. Your dad's death anniversary? Oh, okay. Yes. Oh, that's awesome. I love a little, event of celebration. Okay, wait. Nancy, heal me. Nancy! Please. Oh my god. Come here. No, let me heal you. I'm saving you, Lauren. I got you, friend. I'm here. That's awesome, Ronnie, that you're getting your family together. I love, like, I mean, I know it's like for a sad reason, but I love a little celebration of life. Like, you're obviously coming together to remember him, and obviously he meant a lot. So I hope it's good, and I hope you guys have a good time today. If you don't mind me asking, how long has it been since he passed? Unless you don't want to answer that on stream, I understand. 5 years? Oh my god, I'm scared! Ay puta! I got my light though. Ah! But he dropped his pallet, why? Leon, please. Loop, 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 Justin, loop. You're better, you're better, you're better. I hate you. Take him back this way. I'm scared. Leon scared me. 5 years is a long time. I'm really sorry to hear they passed, but I love that you're doing this with your family. Like, that's so important. Can somebody come help me? Like, he hooked right there, friends. I'm just gonna go get him off the hook. Go right around. He's gonna look for me, I think. I can't tell. COVID took him. Oh no. That's crazy. No, 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 no. Let me heal you, friend. Thank you. Go, go, go. It's okay. I can take hook. I can take hook. No. Leon, please run. No. They need to work on a different gen. I don't know if I'm back here. See, this is when resilience would be... Oh, I think this one's done. Oh, there's one. Oh, shit. No, that's her death hook. Nancy. Here, wait. Dude, I just want to heal you. I just want to heal you. God, the bot almost killed me. No, Leon's about to sacrifice himself. He left. Yeah, go after the Nancy. You know you want the Nancy more. Look at how I'm walking. Oh, he's on Leon again. Was Leon up here? Please, mister, please. Oh, I can't. Why can't I emote? Where am I? Come on. No, no. It's fine, it's fine, it's fine. I'm healed now. Dude, COVID was a menace, and so many people who were like very, very healthy. Oh my goodness. So many people like their like health deteriorated so quickly. And this is Arella perk. Yes, do no harm. Do no harm is so good. I love do no harm. Okay, wait. Wasn't Nancy working on this? Yes. I use do no harm and solidarity so that I can get some heals back. Well, I guess. Why can't I emote? During COVID, I know so many people who were hospitalized. I know so many people never actually seen it actually used. Yes, I think I'm like, my favorite kind of build is healer builds. Wait, where's my emote button? Running crouch. Point at. Yeah. I couldn't point. Hey, Lobito, Olis. I was trying to get. I mean, Leon should not have tried to come get me. I'm having brunch, guys. I'm having a bacon, egg, and cheese croissant that I made. I prepared. Olis, how are you? Welcome in. This shit right here. Mm-hmm. How you doing, Wolfie? How you been? Have you streamed? Were you streaming yesterday? If so, I missed it. Well, we run that shit the fuck back. That wasn't a bad game. Only scary. I'm good, how are you? Doing great. Doing splendid. No stream yesterday, took a day off. Do you have like a schedule? Or do you just stream whenever you're feeling in the mood? I used to be that way, but I just try to stream on the weekends now. I used to stream after work during the week, and it was too much. I'm looking for a purple perk. Excuse me. Oh, maybe because I haven't unlocked it with whatchamacallit. With Dustin yet. Oh, I have. No, I'm. Yesterday I had to do some things. Ooh, what'd you have to get done? Some errands? Paris! Oh my god! Ah! I was like, who is Wisply? It's like, how do you know my name? Hi, Paris, how are you? It's been too long. I love when you pop in here. It's like you come out of, you know, real life and you're like, hey guys! I love it. And I love this. I mean, you've had this color forever, right, on your username? Wait. Wait. It is Paris. Oh, Micah's back. Micah, when do you think you'll be ready after this game? Also, Wolfie, do you want to get in some games? You can totally join. Anybody can join. Yeah, perfect. Anybody can join. Love playing with friends. Just hopped out. Hopped out the shower at LAX. GG, by the way. Kate from last night. Oh my god, Kate! We loved you, Kate! GG's, Kate. We loved you. I was like, Kate, no! Lauren's dead! Welcome in. Thank you for the GG's. We played that okay. It's my first game. Guys, I reset my settings, didn't I? Okay, but that's working now. I want to toggle. Oh, not that. Actually, I probably want it sensitive. Trapper? Oh, it's Wraith. We don't hear a bell. He has a silent bell, maybe? In the basement? He has a silent bell. He went that way. Yes, thank you for the follow! Not oppression. Yeah, we should go help our teammate. Maybe I'll take a chase, low-key. Get him off that. Yeah, there he is. He went down into the basement like a freak. Thank you for the follow, Cho. I appreciate it. Thanks for coming in. We love new friends. Open lobbies? Definitely open lobbies. Yes. Priority for friends. And honestly, really anybody. Míralo. Oh! Hit me. Can I get a whiff? Ah! He broke the pallet! He doesn't want to loop! No! So close! GG. So close. Please put me down, Mr. Ray. Everyone make sure you check in too. In a channel routine. I'm gonna take another bite of my sandwich. I would kill to stop cleaning. Stop cleaning! Wait, no, let me heal you. No, let me heal. He left the Nia. She has resilience. Ay, puta. We have to get a gen done. Nice! I always slow down. I know he gets that. Yeah, I always feel like I don't have enough time to react when he... No, he's picking her up. Just go. We need to get at least the gen done. It's okay, Fade. It's okay. It's okay. I forgive you. Playing a little scared. Oh. Oh, I see him. I'm gonna get to a loop. The Wraith is scary because I know he gets this little like boost after he comes out of his power. I'm gonna go. I can't go get her. He's probably already there, low key. We're just gonna work on I'm gonna work on gens. They're going for saves. Yes, I'm always streaming on the weekend. Hey, come here. No, come here. Hi, Green. Good morning, Verde. How are you? Welcome in, Fran. Make sure you check in. Everybody in chat, make sure you check in. How did I lose progress on that? He's gonna go into basement. He thinks I'm going into basement. He's crazy, guys. He vaulted the window. Animal. Bitch. Yeah, break that pallet, ho. I don't see him. I'm scared. Oh, I see him. Nia's about to die. That's so upsetting. Nia's alive. Oh my god. Come on. You're a dumb bitch, is what you are, ho. I'm just gonna take this loop. I'm scared. Oh! Nia! You freak! Why didn't you move? Hi, Micah. Micah, why do you look like... I missed you, Fred. Your Discord photo kills me. Hi. Did you hear all that? You look like a little schoolboy. It's cute. It's giving like... He's gonna chump. No! 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 He left me. Damn. He doesn't want us to do these gen. He doesn't want us to do this gen, guys. I just don't want it regressing. I don't know where this ace is. Hi, Ali. Welcome in. Everybody check in. Make sure you check in. Have... I hope everyone's having a good morning. Have a cup of coffee with me. Where did Ace go? Is he working over there? Oh, he's over here. Oh, AC Poo. I don't know where he is. I will take this down, low-key. Got legs of steel, you liar! Can I heal you here? Can I heal you here? Can I get it off? If I had more medkit juice, probably. I'll take the down, though. There you go. Okay, Elodie, I need you to come back. Wait, Mike, I have to increase your volume. I can barely hear you.
Was it a me thing?
No, it's a me thing. Justin asking for up beast. Yes, pick me up. He's literally sitting on me. Damn, this Wraith wants me dead.
Sable has a Hellfire Club shirt.
I think there's one for every like anyone can get it.
Oh, period. I'm gonna have to get it.
The same thing with like the Freddy Fazbear shirts. He's a vaulter. I know, he's fucking crazy.
Oh, ew. It does not look that good on her.
That's funny. Oh, ew. She is not working it. I need this, Sir, I need you to take a chase, okay? Okay, Fade?
I think it's her pants that are the problem.
I know you don't feel confident in yourself, but hey, you need to go do a chase, okay? Alright? I believe in you. I promise. Yes, pick me up! Who the fuck is screaming already?
I need them to give my girl better pants.
Now chat is too... The game's not loud enough. Oh, this gen is still almost done. That's so good. It wasn't regressing. We love that. Good try, Elodie. You kind of ate. I'm gonna give it to her. We both got the heal off, and we're about to finish this generator. Twin! Oh my God, it's the twin! Mads, I miss you so much, friend. Dude, I want to play Peak. I want to play Peak this week. Oh, aquí viene. I'll take this ace. Do not drop this pallet. Go! Why did he just... Bro, what are you... Did he just sandbag me? Why? Hey, yo, I'm gonna bring him to you. Yo, go get this ace. He's a sandbagger. Go get him. I miss you so much, Twin. We were having so much fun together. Yes, thank you, Micah, for shouting her out. I want to play Peak so bad. Now him literally sandbagging me at the door. Huh? You might actually have to get closer to your mic.
I just don't want it to seem like I'm like swallowing it, you know?
Oh.
Well, that's
When
what
has
we're
that ever been a
saying.
problem?
Oh. That is crazy.
You heard that, chat? Run it back.
Not possibly real.
We need more sussy shit quotes for you. I know. We fry these frijoles. Good luck frying your frijoles. Micah just said he doesn't want to be known as a swallower. Okay?
Oh.
Run it back. No, that ass.
Who is this on my friends list? Her name is Baja Blast My Pussy.
My That is a good name. That is a good name. Who is this on my friends list? Baja Blast My Bussy.
Baja Blast My Pussy.
I mean, they got it like that. Oh, okay.
I need to figure out who they are right this second.
Immediately.
We're online playing something.
Online playing what?
I don't know.
On your Steam friends list?
Yeah, because I
That
went
is
to
so funny.
my friends list so I can request to join you.
Uh-huh.
Remember the first name at the top. I'm Baja Blast My Pussy.
Baja blast these nuts. Yeah, literally. That's what it's giving. Welcome in, everybody. What does everybody have planned this weekend? I'm going to a wine tasting later.
Oh,
Wong is in Wisconsin, so Wong is spending the night at my place tonight, which is gonna be fun.
period.
Mm-hmm.
You talking about the wine? It just reminded me of our queen, Catherine O'Hara.
Love you, Paris. I know. Ah! My heart is broken. Everyone, cheers to Catherine O'Hara for healing our childhood and reminding us to always be silly. Cheers to a real one.
No, literally.
A little sleepover? Yes, Wong is staying at my place, so he's getting in later today, and then I'll meet him after the wine tasting. Hell yeah, brother! Yeah, we love a little wine tasting. And we're gonna have dinner and then go out, and then tomorrow we'll go get coffee and brunch before he heads back, because he's actually in a different city. Now you bring up that legend dying. I know. Way to go, Michael. Way to bring down the moon.
Look, you had to bring it from it was Herb Earflingers.
Herb Erflinger. Fling Burflinger. I love red wine. Red wine is kind of my holy grail, so to speak. Oh my god, also, who's watching The Traitors? Because that's how I feel about Rob. Rest in peace to Queen. Yeah, I know.
Ew.
Who is it?
The clown.
Oh. I want to go against Vecnussi.
The way that I just say ew when I see who it is every time. It doesn't matter who it is.
You're like, it doesn't matter who it is.
Ew.
I have no interest in dying
Okay,
today.
I'm with C.
I'm with the Tori. Tori, come here. Oh,
I'm going to a gentleman's
he's
party.
already on. Tori, how did he know she was in the locker? That's not suspicious. He's looking at me.
I think he's near me.
I see him. I have eyes on him. He's not gonna chase me. He's looking. He's looking for a gen. He's staring
I'm
at
right
the
next
hook.
to one.
Why are you throwing things at her?
Oh, he saw me. Why is he just hanging out?
He's being weird.
I'm going for her.
Go ahead. I'm taking a chase. There's no way out here? Look at that. Hi. Hey. No. 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 Mr. Clown. Bitch, why would you get grabbed? I think I'm gonna start traders because of Rob. Honestly, he has been kind of killing it, and I can't even be it. I'm just a hater. I loved him until recently. The standoff. I know. I didn't even know that was a dead end, to be honest. That's why I kind of gave up.
Oh, he's coming for you. Oh, he's going for Steve.
Yeah. Oh, he's on me.
Right here?
No, he can't. I can.
I'm going. Oh, he's coming. Run.
Hey! Don't go to pallet. Don't go to pallet. I want him to chase me. Go. I'm right behind you. Go. Go. No!
Ain't no way.
How? Oh! Hello, Mr. Totem.
Oh, he still wants me.
Yeah. I think he knows I'm trying to troll a little.
Oh, he's trying to Baja Blast my pussy.
Binge traders. I'm gonna just go for this totem. What have you been watching, Mads? Like, what shows are you watching right now? I'm watching so much Drag Race. I'm watching
What
Traders.
is his tail?
I'm watching High Potential is another show I'm like obsessed with. I'm just gonna go for Hook, friend.
That whoever that person is still working on that first gen we're working on. Still done.
He's already back on the hook. No. Why are you being strange? He just is hook camping, huh? I've gone backwards. I'm watching Married with Children. Interesting. Love me a miserable hubby. That's so funny. I started The Pit last week. Oh, I've been wanting to start that too and watch the whole first season so quickly. And now I'm in the second season, so it's new. So yeah. Yeah, now you're like pretty much caught up because it's such a new show. Married with Children is such an old show. He's just staring? Oh, no, he's... That is crazy.
What a little hoe.
He's on you.
Oh,
He wants me to die, guys. He's going right for you, friend. He's gonna slug us out. G motherfucking G's. Love singing the intro. It's so good. An interesting way to film like one season in one singular I know. My brother was telling me that that's like the plot, which I found out so interesting. GG's on the slug. Oh. Guys, what should we listen to?
Listening to a lot of Sailor.
You know, I'm not gonna lie, I like Sailor's music, don't get me wrong, but she ended up on my playlist, my Spotify Wrapped, and I was like, girl, I don't even really listen to her like that. Oh my god, he's just slugging. Like, he doesn't even go for the pickup, he's gonna try to hit you again. Nice. Oh, Mr. Clown, you missed. Right there. Throw it. Oh.
Oh. I thought he was gonna try to come around.
He's okay.
I was doing all right.
No, yeah. It's just he's coming back to hooks. It's a GG's for us. There's always next year. Go to, oh yes. Dang, that is very like of the times, Green. And of course, Grey's Anatomy's new season is there. Oh, I forget you're a Grey's fan. New episodes as they come out. I have not seen any new Grey's Anatomy for like a few years now. Ooh, cake, banana upside down cake. beans are done. Now you need to start rice. See, the thing I love about rice is that you literally just start cooking it and you leave it alone, and then you just come back when it's done. That's kind of how it is with rice. If anybody wants to join us, there are 2 spots open. Chorizo papas, yum. Huh?
It's the perfect time, and I went to go grab a Waterloo.
Um,
Paris Hilton side boob. Dang.
damn. She's iconic. Off I go. I appreciate you, Ronnie. Chefing it up. As it's prime, but it's good enough that you're still tapped in. Yeah. Because you're probably like, you've been watching it so long that you're just invested in the characters in general. Not the side boobs. We love a good side boob. Nothing like a tasteful side boob. Quoted. That's for real. Also, I tried to play this on keyboard mouse the other day, and I'm gonna hold your hand when I say this. I don't ever want to fucking do that shit again.
You put a mouse?
It was horrible.
It's fun.
I think I'm just bad at it, so I was just not having a good time. But I think I am gonna start playing on PC and just connecting my controller.
Mm.
Like a noob.
Oh, it's the Legion.
Oh, okay. For Legion, we don't have to fully heal. Like, it's okay to be a little hurt, because when they're in their dash, they can't knock us when we're hurt. At least on that first hit, they still have to like hit everybody else before they get people. Where are you? Are you by a door?
I have no
I'm by a
interest in
gym.
dying today.
Me too. Did we all start separately?
I'm with Laura now.
Lara.
Oh!
Oh, here they come on me. Oh, and 11's here.
Are they what? Sorry?
Come on me?
Period.
Oh. Oh! Damn! Micah, why didn't you mend?
Oh! I forgot. That was something I had to do.
Break it.
When I tell you I don't go against this night, like, ever. I never do.
I'm gonna try to get you.
Honestly.
She's gonna be looking for your body.
You won't die on my watch.
Not on my watch. Not on my watch.
Thank you.
Damn, I kinda ate. They're looking for you. They're looking for a knock. We should just do this, Jen. Milk that hook! Oh, he's already back.
Oh, he sees me.
It's okay, run. Don't get hit. Okay, if you get hit, you need to, like, run away and mend. Because you'll get knocked again. 1-800!
I'm gonna go for a hug. Or are we still milking?
It's okay. No, you should get the hook. Stop taking a chase.
Aw, damn.
Miss me, bitch! No! I'm an idiot. I'm an idiot sandwich, guys. I know better. No, please don't get me. Please, please. Please, Miss Legion. Oh, fuck. What did you clip, Green? Me cackling at the killer? What about on your pocket watch? What about on my pocket watch? Oh. They can come on that too.
I'm so dead.
I'm an idiot. An idiot sandwich, literally. Yes.
Do you have someone by you?
No, just finish it then. I'm eating my food.
He's
Oh,
coming.
never mind.
Oh, he got me.
Alright.
Why is that running so slow?
The Paris Hilton side boob is coming to get me. My hero. Leave it to a side boob to save the day. Okay, I'm gonna go finish that gen with her. We're on 5 gens. It's not cute. Guys, we just need to get on the gen. Just get on. Yep. You know what I'm noticing is that people are like just afraid to take chases. Learn solo queue. Okay, it's fine. That. We just need to get that done. Oh shit. He hears our heartbeats. Can I get a whiff in chat, please? Going to shock. No!
I'm gonna corner with Laura.
Leave me alone! Oh, a whiff for the young lady. Oh, shit! Guys, this is not a drill. This is not a drill. I was so far from the window, guys. I was so far from the window, guys. Guys. I am gonna piss myself.
Oh, we're doing it here?
Yeah. She might just tunnel me out. Where's Laura? Not her healing herself. What a freak. Oh my god, 11. You are a goat. Okay, I'm just gonna work on a gen for him. I'm on Death Hook. I hear a gen. I hear progress. Ooh! How is she on Death Hook already? What?
Because by the time that I got her for that first one, it was too late. It already
Oh.
No. You looked at it here.
Oh, you scared the shit out of me.
He's coming.
Take it.
I'll take it.
No. She's in her power.
What does that mean?
That means she's gonna leave you. I'm dead here. I fear.
The way she's letting me mend myself to go get you instead.
It is what it is. I just took her away from the gen so you guys can finish. Or you can finish, rather. Please, Miss Legion, please! Well, can't win them all. All right, we're gonna spectate you, Micah, while I make a call and get my water. Good luck, Micah. Don't die.
Oh,
Is she already
dang,
chasing?
why'd you have to say that? Why'd you have to say that? Oh. She dropped me. It's coming. Damn. Oh my God, did I have my medkit? Did I not bring anything? Oh my God, I think she saw me. I'm coming, I'm coming. I'm also on my way. Laura, please, let's not go back to this corner. Come on now. I thought what we had was real.
Micah, what are you doing on the floor? Get the fuck up. I'm just kidding.
I wish I could.
I
Fucking Laura left
step
for this
away
corner.
from my kitchen with stream blasting. I think that someone dropped dishes, so I came running. What do you mean drop dishes? Oh, cause you could just hear the clattering of my dishes in the background. Oh, he's gonna try to finish you. Like he wants to do his kill. Good try, Micah. You did what you had to do. Because you like to throw your dishes around. I thought Nola was scratching his. I'm sorry. They just fell apart and I had to pick them up. Oh, she's gonna let you out? Girl, the generators aren't finished, friend. She's gonna let you out.
Come on now.
Nothing.
What the heck?
That was all me, sorry guys. Yeah. Go look for Hatch. Look around Shack, like the middle right there. Look around. Sometimes it'll spawn there. I don't really know where all the spawns are. Oh no. Just look around for the Hatch. You have 2 gens left? Go look for Hatch. Don't listen to her.
He wants me to finish the
No. There's 2 gens left. She's gonna make you do 2 gens by yourself? Go.
Like, I think she is.
She needs you to carry her to chat to the hatch. She's gonna let you live, but I think you should run around and look for the hatch. It's already spawned. Walk away from stream, we'll heal you. Ah, you know what? That's true. Next time, I'm just gonna poot over the clashing dishes so that I don't scare you guys. Look, it's right up there.
I see it. I see it.
Yeah.
Oh,
Just teabag for GG's. There you go. Good job. Good job.
look, we love it.
She's gonna make you do the gens, then Mori. Literally, she's gonna make you work your ass off to get out and then kill you. So I'd rather you just get hatch. Okay, I can't be listening to this R&B. I need to listen to something a little bit more fast-paced.
I like them. They were a nice killer.
You know what, Micah? You could believe that. What he did to me was horrible. How dare you?
I was trying to be their friend. That's why they let me be the last girl standing.
The last girl, final girl. Well, Sable is fully final girl. You, I want you.
Oh, the way I gotta pee. I'll be right back.
Okay, go piss, girl. I didn't get my water. I love the song. DSM Yuri, DSM Yumi. Okay. Guys, do we think they're a duo? Okay, hubby left to get me a bottle of alcohol. We day drinking in this bee. What are we drinking? What are we drinking, Green? Green, what is your alcohol of choice? Like, Bay's going out to get you alcohol. What is he getting? You know what I mean? This song is about I want you. Micah, it's time to play.
Let's hit those generators.
Hi. Hey, yo. Come on. Come on. Come on. A whiskey bitch. Okay, I knew this. Guys, it's a Vic Nissi!
Is it actually?
Yes. The new one. The first. Aquí viene. No!
What does that mean?
He hit me. I lost him though. He's literally still chasing me.
Oh, are we supposed to do something with the clock?
Yeah, you can get on the phone. That's what I think it is. It's not really a clock. Ay, puta! He left me. He can't get me. I'm gonna go talk on the phone. Get it done, Micah. You're better.
We got it. We got it.
Oh wait, somebody already spoke on the phone. Lovely. All right, I'm gonna work on this gen back
Yeah.
here.
The girl at the bottom. Miri.
I love a little whiskey. Do you have a brand of choice? I love a little Maker's Mark. I love a little. Contraceptive cleanser. If you don't get the fuck out of my chat. Micah, is everything okay over there?
Yeah.
Do Johnny Walker? Classy girl, classy girl.
Okay, Vecna, body T.
Body T, body T. Shut up. You're irritating. Not his stringy ass body. He looks like spaghetti, okay? I'm gonna do this, Jen. I'm gonna milk you. Milk, milk.
Sounds good.
Bonfire? Ooh, a bonfire is fun. I love a little bonfire. Japanese whiskey? Oh. A Shogun? Honestly, buy it for the Shogun. He's gonna slug, bro? What? He went underground. He's leaving her.
I fear I'm almost.
No, I'm coming to get you. Woo! Just in the nick of time.
Oh,
We have to go. Come this way, come this way. We can hide in the corner
what are in,
while I heal you.
What are in these chests for him? Or no, I think just random chests.
Come, come, come.
Or anything special.
Why was he trying to slug? That's so strange. As a witch, I collect bottles. Oh, are you actually a witch? Or like, is it like do you actually do hoodoo? That's cool.
There's a totem right there.
I know. I'm gonna go for the hook. You go for a Jen, okay?
Okay.
He's underground, by the way.
What does that mean?
So he's undetectable, but you can hear him coming up like in the environment. You can hear him. And it's an auto, and that hits you automatically. Here, in alone, heal you here.
You won't die on my watch.
Not on my watch. He went and got the body. Are you on a Gen?
Yeah.
He got out. Nice. Everyone's okay. Hi, babe. Running up that hill, and you're running up that hill, and you're running up that moon, and if you
Oh, are they
only
going to the phone
knew.
thing there?
I just did it. I did phone.
Oh, weird.
I don't know where you are. Oh, I found you.
I'm like right in front of the house.
Hey, he's coming. Oh, he's upstairs.
Oh,
Never
there's a
mind.
body bomb.
Body tea. Mostly herbs, cooking, and candle readings. Oh, I love that. Micah, don't worry. We won't talk about it. Why'd you leave me?
Because
Not
it's right
alerting,
here,
not
right here.
alerting the killer to where we were, and then leaving me.
Oh!
Run,
just
Micah,
stabbed me
run.
from underground.
I'm gonna get the. Fuck.
Okay, how did he stab me twice from underground? Ew.
Come here, come here. No, Ada, please. You don't have to run so far. Come. You're wasting time. You know what? Fuck you. I'm not getting you. I'm gonna go do my jet. Does he come back this way? Unfortunately, he does. He doesn't. He goes to the jet. I'm gonna go get you. We over here. I know. Typical Micah fashion. Calls over the killer and runs away.
I don't know what you're talking about.
Here, I'm gonna do this phone.
Wait, I wanna do it.
Oh, here, go ahead, do it.
How do you do it?
Dum, dum, dum. That's it, it's just you listen with no skill checks. Dum, dum, dum.
Why is it so quiet?
Me trying to learn how to moonwalk.
Wait, so what happens when the clock hits 12?
I think he's just in his power during that time. I don't really understand his power yet, like what the tokens mean. She got out. Elodie the goat. Elodie, go. I got you, girl. Go, Elodie. It's okay, Elodie. Elodie, go. She has no idea. He went underground like a freak. It's fine. Damn. Okay, damn. He doesn't know where I'm at. Vecna, I'm over here. Oh, if leader would speed up his listening time? Interesting. I wonder if it would speed up, if like resilience would speed up my listening time if I was damaged. Should we test that theory? Oh no, that'll be the next experiment. We'll just do it next game. I'm gonna go right for the generator, low-key, cause
Stupid hook.
Oh my god, I watched him lunge onto you.
Ew.
Oh, he's mooring you? Oh, guys, Micah's dead. Ay, puta! Me voy! We just watched you get murked. It should, no? We'll do it for science. We're gonna do that experiment for science. Guys, this gen is half done, friends. Micah, it was for the homies, okay? Never forget.
Oh.
But isn't that kill scene so, like, gory?
It is interesting.
Like, your body just cracks into pieces? Fuck it.
Hope that hook is busted.
Dude, he's underground. Alright, let's see if resilience. This is the science experiment for resilience. It's going pretty fast.
Was that because they were doing it up there too?
Oh, maybe. I didn't realize we were both doing it.
No, there was someone in the building there doing it.
Yeah, she can get mini moried. I'm not gonna lie, I might just finish this gen. Wish, not the wish. Timu Sadako. Does he come for me? Let me just get this gen done. Three in a row, guys. Pick her up. Oh, Mori. It's a Mori. Here we go. Time to find Hatch. Guys.
Nice.
Yes. Oh, Vecna. Oh. Okay. And just like that, we get the hatch.
By the way, I have no more medkits.
Oh, use your blood web, friend. Tommy Shelby? Who the fuck is that? Wants to join my party. I don't know who that is. Sorry to that girl. That's me? Oh my god! Paris. I was so shook. I was like, who the fuck is Tommy? Oh, we're doing Sable. Oh, it's a Sable squad. Okay, I see. I see the vibes. I can be part of that.
I get the feeling something bad is about to happen. Yum.
The way this game hates me, there's no magic.
Wait, should I do so? Oh wait, we're doing leader. We're gonna do leader and see. Oh, Justin was all pass. I was like, who the fuck? I don't even know a Tommy. Oh, I found leader. Leader increases other survivors' healing, unhooking, cleansing, opening gates, and chest unlocking. Yeah, I'm like, who's Tommy? I'm very like, I look at you at the door. If you're not on this list, you're not allowed, okay? Who the fuck is that? And the name changes? Yes. All right, Paris, we're gonna eat. Girl, Princess Nokia, I don't care. Oh, Ripty. Only Tommy I know is Tommy Lee Jones. Only Tommy I know is Tommy Pickles, okay? Stupid fucking race. You got this. You got this. I believe in you.
Oh, it's the weird girl that separates from her body. You know what I'm talking about?
What happened?
It's the one that separates from her body.
Oh, Kresu?
Yes. Oh look, we're all here. Oh, not all of us.
Kresu? Or is it Krasu?
Oh my.
Krasu? Kresu? Oh, already on you.
I kind of let her to me, breaking the goddamn gen.
Oh. It's okay.
Oh, what's that on the ground?
It's a mushroom.
need that.
You have to eat it. Only if she attacks you with it.
I don't like this map. I feel like I don't know anything. Oh, she's still coming for me? Are you kidding me? Oh, she got me. The way she chased me all the way out here is crazy.
Ew! She got her juice all over me. Guys, she just broke. It's Shaka Khan. It's Shaka Khan.
Look at her slithering around like that.
Ew, like a little snake. Taco is iconic for that. Oh my god, did
Come on,
Taco...
man.
Oh, sorry. Did Taco call it Shaka Khan? Help me. Oh god. Oh! She stayed over there because of the gen. Actually, maybe I shouldn't do that there. Saw Ronnie's face during the Shaka Khan comment. Oh, hey. No, Paris. I always forget it's a two-sided gen. Oops. No, I'm sorry. I'm sorry. I picked up my phone. Oh, she is coming right over here.
I'm going for Para.
Yeah. I'm gonna go back to that gen you guys were on. Oh, I'm gonna fix this too. Shere Khan. Shaka Khan. Dude.
The way that I stuck at healing, she was just passing around.
Damn, she didn't fall for the fake. It's because I picked up my phone. Wow, Micah, my hero.
Yeah, anything for the team. I try my best.
And then Ronnie said a side item for locking in the answer. Wait, what were we even talking? When did he? What trivia were we playing?
There's a gen right behind this hook.
Yeah.
I want to work on.
She's coming right the fuck back here. Oh, she left. No, she's still.
She's going back there.
Oh,
Oh my god.
run, Micah, run! She's going after you. Run, Micah, run! I think I'm gonna carry medkits. They were picking Disney villains and Taco said the wrong person. Yeah, Shaka Khan's not a villain. She's iconic. Some Disney game. Oh, she definitely sees my fucking big ass hat. Ay, pobre. Mike, I'm taking you off and you run. You have to run and take a hit. Take a hit and run. Now run, run. Get out, get out.
Was that actually a hit though?
Yeah.
I didn't glow white. I didn't think that was a hit.
Oh, you didn't glow what? You didn't go white? Oh.
No, she shot her boots.
Micah, run! Micah, run! No, she's put her slime all over me. Go, Micah, go!
Oh,
Okay, she hit me.
I have something all over me. How do I get rid of it?
With the, that's what you need the mushroom for.
I ate it, and then it stayed on me.
When did you eat it? Before or after you had it on you?
When after I had it on me.
Hold on, I have to find a little mushroom. Did I call it a marshmallow before? I'm pretty sure I said marshmallow.
Did you? I don't know.
Guys,
Oh, you left
roll
me.
the tapes. Did I say marshmallow? Damn.
Oh, I didn't realize that was my death. Wow.
Paris is getting saved. I heard mushrooms. Period. I knew I said mushrooms. Taco was stoned when you were playing. Yeah, what was that game called? The Disney trivia. Oh, Paris. Oh, Paris, maybe not. Here, I can heal you. I called them shrooms. And dying again laughing. That legit was so fucking funny. Villainous. Oh, Villainous is the game. Ay puta. Oh! I lost her. Oh my god. She's just throwing her snot at me. I want her to break this pallet so bad. She doesn't fall for fakes. She's the GOAT. She is the queen. Oh, she's not as good as I thought she was. Come on, pallet, pallet, pallet. That's fine. I need the pallet. Ay. Esta maldita perra. Ah. Never! Never that ugly bitch, you ugly bitch. Get off of me! Hey, put me down! Paris, that would have been so incredible. Nice blind. Agreeing with all the clips today. Never, you ugly bitch. Paris! Look at her out of her skin. Aw, damn. I'm doing my part, yes. Honestly, incredible. Incredible work. Deadpan, serious face, Taco. Who are you playing as? Shaka Khan. Then the stare off, dead seriousness in his face. Then me. Are you fucking kidding? No, Shaka Khan. Then here comes Kevin's cousin. You mean Shere Khan? That is so funny. Alright, well, Warbird, I hope you get that hatch. Paris, good try with the save. Alright, I'm gonna hold a medkit this time because I forget how bad the toolbox is actually with repairing the gens. Oh, it's because it's this toolbox. This one repairs gens faster.
Damn, son, where'd you find this?
I'm not gonna lie, that shit was loud as fuck. Not gonna lie, I was in no place to be trying to play that game as stoned as I was. Oh my god, you guys are so stoned. Not you mixing them up. I know, I'm sorry. I don't know this game. Honestly, maybe I'll just hold resilience. Saboing the gen top tier. Yeah, I didn't realize that they were different. Like, is that bad? Lurky Poo again. Tell the rice I said hi. You know, I was gonna ask if you were using the Sabo box on the gen and just let you do view. I didn't even know it was different. I load in with the wrong shit all the time. I didn't even know that the toolboxes did different things. I thought they all just did the same amount of stuff. No, this is why I need you guys to tell me, to correct me, to teach me. I love you, Justin. Hi, Omar. No, never apologize for being late. Never apologize. Ronnie is keeping us informed about all the things you guys are up to. Hi, Omar. How are you, friend? I hope you're having a great morning. And I hope you guys enjoy your celebration of life later. Like, I think that's gonna be awesome. And it'll be nostalgic and wonderful, and you'll be with tons of people you love and tons of good food. I know. Give me the barbecue. We are all coming. Green. Green, is that you? Fred, brother, I love you. 24 months in a row is crazy. Sending foods to everyone, period. This is payback for the Omart. Freddie, love you. I hope you're doing okay. I hope you're not traveling as heavily as you used to be. We need to catch up soon. A hype train, 20 subs. You know, and this is the time of the day where we thank Freddie for being a great friend. I love you so much, homie. You always come in here and you belated birthday gift. I love you so much. I love you so much, Fred. Guys, we need to get some sub badges in here. I don't have any sub badges, and I don't know what I want them to be. Thank you for gifting. Thanks for all the subs. Everyone, thanks Freddie. He is the best mod in chat, even though he's only here once a year to give subs, and then he goes into hiding. Yeah, we love Freddie. Freddie's my IRL. We've been friends for over a decade. Oh, it's a ghost face. Run, Paris, run! Oh. I don't even know who you are. Oh, there you are. Oh. Here he comes, Micah. Micah, behind you.
Oh, behind me. Who got me?
I can't even get off the gen. I thought he was gonna try to go for the kill. It wouldn't let me cancel the gen for some reason. Refresh the stream, stop for a sec. Oh, that's not fun. Okay, yeah, you have to leave. I'm going for the hook. Actually, I'm going for the gen.
That's so fair.
He's cutting me off! He's cutting me off! He's cutting me off! He's cutting me off! No! Wolfie's back! Hi, Lobo. Welcome back. If you want to join in, we have one spot open. Anybody who wants to join? Green, do you want to join? We have one spot. Well, sorry I was doing something? No, you're totally fine. Never apologize. Comment on my stream to Tinder skin. No, you're like a mystical creature, like a unicorn. Like you're like once in a year, you appear to the masses. Chorizo and papas were not enough. That sandwich will hold me over until the end of the day. And at least I won't be that drunk at the wine tasting, you know what I mean? You are Rose, and the gen is Jack. Jack! Don't let go! Oh.
Do I know how to
Open.
use the flashlight?
Open.
Oh, I did
Open.
it, I did it.
Did you save her?
I think so.
Micah, LOL. Okay, wait, maybe you didn't save her.
Oh, look, what do you think? Let me take it. I'll use this flashlight.
Flashlights are fun.
You got me.
Did Paris save you? Oh my god, run, Micah, run!
Oh, not me dropping the goddamn flashlight. It's 'cause-
God damn it, Micah.
Anyway. Why was I trying to reload anything?
I love you, Fred.
Question here.
Oh, hey, Paris. Here, I got you, friend.
Look, all I had were those toolboxes and those smoke bombs. Other than the flashlight.
You have a smoke bomb? You should have used a smoke bomb.
That instead,
Cause then you just disappear from sight, Loki.
I'll put
I'm gonna. Oh wait, I saw Paris come from the other way, and I thought, yeah, go after the V. Go after the V. I'm gonna come double heal. Why is V is taking him to you guys? Why? Yeah, you deserve that, girl. Like, why are you taking him to our friends? They're clearly healing.
Wait, can I go pick up my flashlight?
Oh my God, you're better, V. Run. I know Ghostface is sick of you, Paris.
Me trying to middle mouse between where he's at.
And honestly, Micah, it's okay. Come on, save Paris, save. Oh, so close. GG's, Micah. We couldn't save you.
Oh my god.
The V low-key ruined your heals. I'm gonna look for this. I think I'm just gonna start this gen. I don't know what the V is doing. The V should have started a gen already. I earned a hype chest. Woo! You ran out of juice, no! Well, no, you did so good, friend. Micah, you did too. If you got a save, that's like all you can ask for, really.
Wait, did I get it? Did I not get it?
You must have, cause she didn't get hooked. You ended up getting hooked.
Using a flashlight.
Not that. The Meg the Stallion You were like, talk your shit, Micah. You better.
There's a half-used flashlight somewhere on the ground there.
Like near the
I'm gonna
house.
find it. Like outside the house, yeah. Because I tried reloading it. Don't ask me why I
Reloading
had
it like a gun.
Don't
It's a
ask me
flashlight.
Don't ask me why I had R to reload my flashlight. But R charged me.
Damn, he's just on the hook. Nasty work. Do you remember where you dropped it?
No.
Oh. Well, that's not
Now
helpful.
I don't.
Was it close to the house? Was it over
It
there?
was somewhere near where you're at, I thought.
Oh, he's here on me though.
Ew, the rats. They always been there. Oh.
I'm looping. Crazy scream. Shadow. I know. I do scream a lot in this game. Like, I definitely react to the jump scare. Oh, the gen was back here. Whoops, sorry guys. Oh my god, I'm so sorry guys. I had no idea where you guys were. Get me the fuck out of your arms, you dumb bitch. Fuck you. He's after V? Yeah, take her. Ay puta. Ay puta. No, please. Please. Ah, take that whiff, hoe. Hey, V. No, actually, let me heal you. I'm sorry. I stabbed her. Shadow, how are you? How are you, friend? How are you? I saw you were streaming earlier. How was your stream? Oh, I forgot I don't have solidarity. I'm like, why am I not getting heals back? Yeah, fuck you, Ghostface. Even though low-key, I should have just done the gen while broken, but it's fine.
That other one was almost done, huh?
Oh, I should go to it. Gah! Oh, fucking A, bro. Get your grimy clothes off this. Bye, Paris. Yes, booty Fortnite. I'm doing good. What about you? Doing great. I haven't played Fortnite in a while. I ascended. You did. You evolved. You leveled up, low-key. Anywhere but here. Whoever that was. Yeah, it was my friend Freddy. Hi, Aristotle. Good morning. Or good afternoon, rather. How are you doing today? I booed. That she's taken, bro. I can't. We'll just go this way, I guess. Oh! Oh, that's her flashlight. That's Ferris's flashlight? Is he camping Hook? There he is. Take this hit. Take this hit, V. Girl, what? Yeah, go get her. Go get her, Ghostface. She sandbagged me. Go get her. Yes, thank you for the red shadow. Why did she do that to me? Alright, I'm gonna go find the hash. Thank you for the raid shadow. Micah, can you give him a shout out? That's why you were in here. You were looking for a raid. W raid, I know. Shadow's a goat. Hey. Let's go look for Hatch together. Now this is what I call a nice killer. This is what we want to see. Katrina, Katrina, Katrina. Oh, Hatch. Yes, get your daily shadow. There's a new redeem. Bro, I don't know if you've been here since the redeem. Everybody check in if you haven't already using your channel points. Oh, right here. Hey. Hi. Thank you. Ah! Don't close it. Please don't be rude. Thank you, sir. I thought we were friends. Ghostface, how could you? Tricked by the killer again. Damn, I look kind of hot. Nor. I look good with a knife in my back. The betrayal. I know. How rude. The plot twist. I thought we were gonna be friends. Jeez.
Dang.
I know. Never trust a ghost face. That hoe. Oh, I don't have a. I like to do the tones, guys. I'm sorry. I'm a completionist. I like to get things finished. Head on? You know what? I'm thinking let's try some head on games. Sorry, leader. The leader experiment is gonna have to wait. I want some head on. That's what she said.
Oh.
Yes,
Oh,
Wolfie. Wolfie, you have to play a Sable. I know Laura is fresh on your mind, but I'm running a boon. Oh, exponential. Hmm. I need to get my head on. I know. Mr. Killer, please. I'm just a cute little boy. Don't kill me. Shadow, are you just playing Fortnite today? Yeah, Fortnite. Ta-da-pow. Go get Molly. Oh, Paris left? Oh, there's Paris. It just took her a minute to get into my party. Guys, what happened to dancing? Bring dancing back.
Amen. Me forever waiting to see a medkit in this blood web.
I mean, you really never have you not seen a blood web?
I haven't seen one in so long. That's why I ran out of them.
You have to take an airplane. Oh, that's true. You have to go across the pond to get to lobby. That makes sense. It does take a while. That is like a good time, a good travel. I'm so happy you're here, Paris. Wisply.
It's the ghoul.
Oh.
Whatever his name is.
Kaneki. I know. I feel like when I met you all, we were like gaming so much as a big group, and then everybody just like life just happens. You know?
Oh my
Life
god, now I'm
happens.
reading as Grim Panty, not Grim.
Grim Panty. Okay, girl, I see you. Sounds fucking nasty. Oh, he's here. He's at the big structure. Oh, he might have found me, I think. Oh, no he didn't. I'm just an idiot and I walked right into him. Wait, I'm so confused. Dude, there should be a recovery for missing. Like, what's that recovery time when he vaults like that? I hate his little gasp. Hi, Waffles. What's up,
How did he
homie?
still
What's up,
get
baby
me?
girl? Welcome in.
What a little bitch.
Bitch. Yeah, talk your shit, Micah. Talk your shit. Fuck you, Mr. Killer. He's coming back to me. Yeah, you freak. He's looking for you. Oh, he's going back to you. Oh.
Frick you.
Into the thing, yep. Oh damn, he just left your body? What is he doing? We have a slugger. Damn, that's what I get for taking the chance on Hook. Guys, that was my dad. Look at him.
Oh,
I guess. Oh, I should have sabotaged it, didn't I have? I have to mend, Sorry.
go, go, go.
He did not see me. Actually.
Oh, he got me. But I took the hit. Oh, I brought him back. Let me run away.
He's going back to Paris' body. No! I let that killer kill me the other time. Period. Guys, I was watching Waffles play Killer, and it was honestly a great experience to watch. Okay, if we got one gen done. I'm on Death Hook. This is not looking cute, guys. Here, Michael, let me heal you. He's right there. Holy shite. Oh. Freak DVD. It's definitely not. It's not new player friendly. It definitely takes some practice.
No, I'm not even a new player at this point, and it's still not friendly.
Here he comes.
Okay, I'm gonna go.
Yeah. No, Wolfie's there.
Oh, they are. They're going after, so I'm gonna go.
Yeah. Now you can go.
No, this rock's so big.
Damn. He's going back to the hook. Oh no, he's gonna pick up this time.
You got it. Paris is up.
Paris, do you think he can see me in here? Oh! Ew, look at his greasy ass tentacles. Alright, I'm gonna go right for Hook. Wolfie, we're coming! I'm coming, Wolfie.
Oh, he's back. Oh, he
That's
missed.
So far gone.
Don't worry, y'all. I'm taking the chase. He's coming after me.
You got this, Mike. I believe
Oh.
in you. We're gonna
He
double
got me
heal.
right here. He left me.
He's coming for the hook. Yeah, look at him right there.
I'm mending myself. No, I always forget. I haven't forgotten this.
He doesn't even come for me. He's going after Wolfie. Wolfie, run! I'm gonna work on this gen up here. Oh, he's coming right the fuck back for me.
What's in here? Don't worry, y'all. I got a flashlight.
I found a
Am I
hex.
gonna save
I'm
someone?
gonna work on this. You know what? I'm not. Yeah, I'm gonna work on the hex. I think this Fortune's Fool that I'm doing. Is that Micah? Yeah, it is Micah. Micah's on chat with
What's
me.
that little blue thing?
Micah's playing.
Highlighted.
That's the boon that Wolfie set up. It's Waffles. Waffles is acknowledging you. She's acknowledging your voice. I don't get how to flash either. Like, they be staring bad in my light. You just gotta show them your tits, Waffles.
Literally saved.
Oh, shit! Wolfie! Nice, Wolfie. Oh, shit. You're better. You're better, Wolfie. He's coming out the other side. Aquí viene. Try again, bitch. He went back for Wolfie. Or he went back for the gen. Shit. I give you. Wait, how? That's fine. Whatever. I'm dead, guys. Fat GG's to me.
Where are you? Where are you?
I'm by the big jungle gym. Paris, ayúdame por favor, amiga. Oh my god, she's just better. I have to mend. Aquí viene! Aquí viene! Oh shit! I'm dead. Punch him in the clitter. Yeah. Flashing my tits a bad thing. I know, and they don't want to look at your tits. Isn't that the worst when you're showing your tits and they're like, yeah! Don't you dare! Put your shirt back on. GG's, guys. I played that game like shit, by the way. This game gives me anxiety. I kind of love. Why your stream room looks different? Because this is the other side. I moved the desk. So now this, instead of, my desk used to be over there. So I moved everything around. Alright, let's watch them dominate, because the three of y'all, undefeatable. Paris!
I should have time if he's all the way over there.
Like, how you point like we know your layout? Well, Fred knows. Fred has been to my apartment before. So this is a room, and the door is right there, and I used to be on the same wall as the door because I was afraid to like not be able to look at the doorway. That's like honestly a really like weird thing about me. Like one of my kinks is like, or quirks, is that I have to always face the door. Come on, Wolfie, you got this. Oi, no!
We'll be going to go back. Try and turn this door.
Good try, Wolfie. Wait! No! Get him, Wolfie. Wiggle! Wiggle, Wolfie, wiggle! Yeah, door first. And what if the room has no door? I just need to see the entryway. Like, I need to see people coming in to my space. I don't even know where Paris is. Oh my god, they're so far from you, friend.
We are.
But you can see him. You can see him. He's coming toward you. He's gonna just circle them. Okay. Paris is dead. You're amazing, Micah.
I'm trying my best.
Yes. Just grab him and run. Sal! Sal! Salta! Go, go, go! Micah, please! Where are you going? Micah, you have to take a hit for him, Micah!
Wait,
He's way ahead of you. Look at him. Look at him. He's going toward the door. Just go straight to the door. Yep. Stay behind him. Or maybe he got it. He's getting chased.
Wait.
Yeah.
Door's right here.
Yeah. He can't take another hit. He can't take another hit. You have to take the hit for him.
Frig.
Okay, well.
Don't be fake. No, put her down.
What?
I don't want to leave her.
Laura, get out. Luffy. Why is he doing this? Maybe he wants to play with you guys? He wants you guys to race? No, he doesn't want y'all to race. He's just being freaked. Run out. Just get out. My Micah!
Go on without me. Go on without me.
Wolfie, what are you guys doing?
No. We're almost there.
Nice! Get out, Micah,
I'm
run!
going.
Yes, let's go! You guys, what was that? The juggling was crazy.
I didn't want to leave with both of them.
Micah, W teammate. Micah kind of ate. That was that was incredible. Love the juggle. Wolfie, you're just better. Wolfie knew too. Wolfie was like, okay, I'm gonna crawl. Y'all stressed me out.
I would have felt so bad.
Waffles, this game is so much fun with like a group of people. Like, y'all just playing like idiots. Well, I'm playing like an idiot. And they, honestly, I would never have thought to do that, but I don't know what he was trying to accomplish. I don't know what the killer was trying to accomplish. I would have left your ass. I'd been like, deuces, I'm leaving. I'm gonna put a medkit on instead of toolbox. Gotta do the teabag on homies while you dip out. Yeah, literally.
Oh dang! I didn't realize I was already prestige 5. There better be a medkit now. Come on now.
What'd you say?
I said I didn't realize I was already about to prestige 5, and I was like, there better be a medkit.
There better be a fucking medkit.
I have yet to come across one yet.
Waffles, I would be totally down to squad up with you, so we can work together to get out.
I think that last game was my best run yet.
It honestly, I'm not gonna hold you. It might have been.
Ew, who is this? Who's the first?
That's the Vecnissy.
Oh, is that
Vecnissy,
Oh.
yes.
Okay.
Pop that Vecnissy. Do gens, y'all just run? Exactly. We need someone to push the gens while everybody else runs around. You know what I mean? If you're afraid to run. Oh, I hate this map so much.
I hate this.
It's so big, bro. That's what she said.
You're always like, I'm down here, and here I am just running right past you.
Bye, Micah. Fine, don't work on this gen with me.
Oh, see, I didn't even see it. Where are you? Right here?
Hey, you literally looked at me and walked away. You literally looked over at me. You're like, fuck.
Oh! What is that? Ew!
It's just the map.
Since when has that been there?
It's a jump scare. He's underground, by the way. My legs just hurt. Yeah. Oh, he's on Paris. Well, I'm blind. I'm legally blind. Micah, do you want to work on the phone? It's right up there. Or should I go get it? I can get it. Let's go.
Lord knows I'm a get lost going up there.
Paris is right above us. Oh.
There's another one right there. Oh, but we can't even get to it, huh?
Hi, Paris. I thought you were getting chased, friend. Oh, he slithered underground. I saw Wolfie on it, so I like didn't even bother. Alright, I'm gonna go outside. Oh, it's Henry. I see them. They're at Shack. Oh shit, Wolfie. I hate you!
I didn't realize the skylighting.
He went back for Hook. He's a little horny bitch. Run, Paris, run!
You have little time left.
Like, Micah, I know you see me here. Run! Micah, run!
Oh my gosh.
I'm going back for it because he's just horny for a kill. I'm going right back for it. Oh shit! Micah, no!
Oh, okay, Henry.
Okay, don't okay him, okay? He is the enemy, okay? Oh, he just slithering. Try again, ho. You can't catch me, bitch. He went back. He's gonna break the gen. Breaks the gen. He's going for you, for your hook, thinking that I'm over there. I'm gonna come get you now. Come here, Micah.
Thanks.
Michael, let's go back to this gen we were on.
Right behind you, yeah.
That's fine. No!
I am.
He knows how to take this loop. He knows how to take the loop here! Guys, he definitely caught it. He caught me. He sees you for sure.
Oh, he got me.
Fucking A, bro. Oh, actually, come here, Wolfie. Let me heal you. No, let me heal you. I have a med kit. I have resilience. Let's just work in the gen. I hate that sound, that slurp sound. I'm dead. Oh my god. Wait, how come it's not canceling out the gen progress when I run, bro? Did that setting literally reset too? Let's go back to that. Let's see. Oh, it's definitely general. Oh, is it controllers? Run to cancel. Yeah, I want it to cancel things. Hello. Hi, S2. What's up? Welcome in. The only way to stop getting got against the killer is to run away in a zigzag pattern while drinking your juice in the hood. Period. I just want to get the gen done. Is that too much to ask? You got Wolfie.
Soon.
What am I supposed to do? I should have let you heal me, Wolfie. I should have let you heal me. I should have let you heal me. Aw, GG. Good try, Wolfie. The gen he's working on is almost done. You guys think of the new DVD? Honestly,
This
love
is
it.
a load of barnacles.
That's exactly what it is. A load of barnacles. How you doing, ATS? How do you like the new stuff, new chapter? Excuse me.
Bug. You know what he was doing there.
Oh, he grabbed both of you. Well, he stole Sadaku's Mori. Oh, that was your death hook. I forgot that hiding in the locker. The way we both just flopped down. Yeah, literally. Like, damn, he held that for so long. Oh! Paris! Paris, no! Yes, checking in, Omar. Look at that. It's because I have streamer bot open. Hatchet Shack, let me die. Hatchet Shack, Hatchet Shack. Hatchet Shack, Hatchet Shack. It's on the other side. Yes!
Nice.
Let's go! Oh yes, they ruined Steve's Scream. He's not a sequel anymore. He's a real person now. Let's go! The team that keeps on teaming.
Where am I?
What are we barbecuing? Are you doing like an arrachera? Are you doing like asada? Are you doing chicken?
I got a med kit. I got one.
Oh my god, happy day, mama. Carne asada, pierna de pollo, sin hueso, okay, period. Ooh, teriyaki shortbread. Yum, 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 yum. Sounds delightful. I definitely need that overnighted. Wolfie, you ate. Honestly, Paris ate too. I think I'm gonna put on my Gabe. My Gaby boy. Hell yeah. Alright, everyone, you heard that? We're all going to Omar and Rani's house. You got kicked? That's not cute. Everyone leave. Everyone leave the lobby. Ronnie is currently cooking rice. Yes. Frijoles fritos and baked. Yes. Yes. She was telling us Steve stole your spot. Yeah. Fuck that guy with his horrible scream. Honestly, everything you guys are making for this barbecue sounds so good. Okay, I'm gonna try to sabotage some stuff. I have to do head on too. Whoops. Should have done head on. Guys, I shaved my beard. I didn't realize how long my beard was until I shaved. And I was like, oh my god, my face. It's back.
Ah, it's back there again. Oh, look, we're all here. and the
All of
game-
my friends are here. Alright.
Oh, he's over there.
Oh, it's
That
Vecna
corner.
again.
Yeah. He's around the building.
He's underground.
Oh.
Wolfie's booning. He's booning. Aquí viene, man. I was outside of that circle, bro. Okay, he's an icon, and he is the moment. Now, come on now.
Oh, fuck. We were so close, too. I'm so sorry, Perez.
He read me like a book. Okay, those loops are hard for me with this guy. Or against him. Oh, I walked into my son's room to tell him lunch is done, and he's jamming Green Day. Oh my god, what song was he listening to? I know, Green Day is amazing. Wow. Oh. I love getting rubbed on like this. It's so calming.
There's a gen right here.
Wake me up when September ends. Like that. Hi, Skya. Welcome in, friend. My goon face. How are you, Skya? I was looking in your stream the other day. Bloodhound guy? Yeah. Yeah. I'm okay. How's school? Have you graduated yet? Or you're graduating this year, like in the spring? I'm just gonna finish this and then go talk on the phone. Oh, you got it, Micah. I'm running up that hill, running up that hill, running up that hill. Like that. That's how I feel. That's how I feel like the song sounds.
I will show you mercy.
He went underground. He did not see me. I'm going for the hook.
Oh, I'm already here.
Okay, nice. We can double on him.
Sorry.
He's coming back. Maybe. Thank you. Thank you for the thank you. End of February next year. Okay. How's school been this year though? Like, how's been living alone and back in school? Oh, okay. Bye, Wolfie. Nice knowing you. School stuff because I worked on my business stuff for. Oh, nice. Yeah, literally. Yeah, Sky's been working hard. Oh boy.
He's going back to Hook.
He's underground now.
I'm going for Hook.
Mm-hmm. I think Wolfie went that way too. Apartment's landlord clearly has a crush on me, and I don't want to interact with this man. You should just be like, I'm sorry.
He got me. Oh, I got stuck on a rock.
It happens. It happens. Trust.
Oh, you missed. You suck.
Yeah, work his Vecnusy. Work it.
Oh, he got me. God damn it.
Oh shit.
I was looping him for a good minute though.
I'm trying to look for you. Maybe I can sabotage.
Oh, he got me.
Oh, you're right on a hook too. Holy shit.
It's fine. It's my first. I needed to take one at some point.
Oh, he went the other way. Must be a hook on the other side. Oh, he went far. Coming, Micah.
Thanks.
Have you seen your? Yeah. Well, I've seen what you've posted on Instagram. You fear that's what he might like to get his knees fucked up. Then bear mace his ass. I was just hiding.
There's
It's over here.
This gen can you and I can finish it.
It's not. It's kind of broken.
Oh, you broke it. Damn, it was good at one point.
I mean, my perk increases gen speed.
I'm gonna go get. Hopefully.
Well, the landlord hasn't done anything bad. I just. Okay, well, I'm trying to get him to. He's going for the hook. Very nice type of guy. You just don't like talking to him because you know that he is like into you.
Oh, he
Yeah,
got me.
he needs to read the room.
Your days are numbered.
Well, the fucker needs to read the room. Exactly. Like, get a clue. Is there a hook by you, Micah? Like,
Not
do you
that I
see
can-
one around?
Mm-mm.
He's going back for you to pick you up.
He's
He
looking
left,
for
he
me.
left
Oh,
Wolfie.
he got me. Go on without me.
No. There's only one of us on Death Hook. We'll be able to find him. I'm gonna get the hook off. Whenever he finally hooks you, like, down. Oh, damn, Wolfie, no.
You will not escape.
Thanks.
No, come here, come here.
Oh.
Oh, we're gonna have to run. Nice. Run, Micah, run!
Oh. That's so fake. Frick you.
Oh, it's not this door. Paris, open the door. Go find the other door. It's not this one. Wolfie's opening this door too. That's fine. I just want him away from Wolfie. He doesn't even want me. He wants Wolfie. I'm gonna go find the other door. Oh my god! I just saw your dead body. Are you guys okay over there?
Paris is at
I'm at the other door. I don't know where they are.
Wolfie's trying to make a run for it. Finna get got. Or they finna get got.
Are they already at the door?
Paris is.
Okay. I'm just.
Oh,
Is
Paris.
Wolfie on his way to the door? I don't know where Wolfie went.
Yeah, they're on the way to you. They're like right behind you.
He just grabbed Wolfie. I thought Wolfie was trying to get to the other door. Let's just go. I'm sorry, Wolfie. You should turn Micah up. I think I just needed to have done. I had Discord on my PlayStation, so I had to like compete with audio. But next time, I'm just gonna do the call from my PC. It's because I have to share the audio for this. I think that was my last game, guys. I'm gonna call it there. I have to run some errands before later. Sorry, Wolfie, I tried. I know, Wolfie, I lost track of you and I thought you were heading to the other door. But obviously he was chasing you. Thank you for games. No, thank you, Paris. I'm so happy you're here. You have no idea how much it means to me that you're here. Wolfie, thank you for playing. Micah, thank you for playing. I hope everybody has a good day. No, I'm so happy you're here. Like, it honestly means so much that you came and hung out. I thought you went back to the door. I went to the other. I was trying to get to the other door. I'm sorry. I'm sorry. Thank you everybody for hanging out. If you haven't done so already, make sure you check in. No, thank you, Wolfie. Thank you for playing with me. You know I love playing with you. We're just gonna raid out, I guess. We can raid out to Jax. Let's raid out to Jax. Jax is a new streamer I've been hanging out with in their chats. They're doing Thrownament, where they're playing in a tourney right now. And we'll raid them. And they're a drag artist that plays on stream. I forgot what I was doing. 13. They're totally a vibe. But let's go say hi to them. I appreciate everyone. Net Green, thanks for hanging out so much. Yes, Paris, thank you so much. Thank you, Wolfie. No, thank you for being here, everyone. It means so much when people come to hang out with me. I'll be live again tomorrow night. But until then, I hope everybody has a safe and warm Saturday. And yes, I will have so much fun with the wine. If people can copy these raid messages, and let's go hang out with Jax for a little bit while they're in this journey. I have errands to run, but I'll talk to you all very, very soon. I love you all. Bye!